everyone, welcome to Beer Bomb Bookworm. Have you guys been reading? Have you? I know I haven't. In this episode, I'll be telling you about a reading challenge I'm doing. It's called the Kindred Reading Challenge. They're a company who does books, I guess they're publishing. I will be participating in this challenge because I don't read enough. Without further ado, let me tell you about this challenge. There are 24 different books that you need to read, or well, 22 in my case, because some of the things are just like, duh. There are different authors or certain requirements that your books need to be, or just by a certain author. So without further ado, let me tell you about the books I'm doing. Number 1. Read a book by Mark Twain. I will be reading Prince and Pauper because I have not ever read that. I haven't read a lot of classics, so I'm excited for this one. Number 2, read a short story collection. I will be reading Interpreter of Maladies, which is a short story collection, which is apparently really good. It got good reviews on Goodreads, so I will give you the links to everything in the description below and on my Facebook as well. The third item in this challenge is read a book over 1,000 pages long. I will be reading Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin. I was going to read Under the Dome by Stephen King, but I decided it's easier to do this because it was on the list and it is over 1,000 pages. So at the epilogue, which is after the main story, there's an epilogue. That is page 1117. So it is over 1,000 pages long. I am only on page 105. I will put that on my list and read it by the end of June. The fourth thing on this list is a poetry collection. Now, I'm a big fan of poetry. I already have a book of poems by Anne Sexton, but I've made notes in that book and I've underlined and I've been through that book so many times, so I'm not going to count that one. I'm going to be reading The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath because she was one of my favorite poets in high school. The fifth thing on this list is to read an 1800s novel, and I will be reading The Picture of Dorian Gray. I read a little bit about that one and I'm excited because it's kind of a horror novel, and I guess there's a movie made after it, but of course I haven't seen it because I lived under a rock for my whole entire life. The sixth item is listen to an audiobook. I will be listening to The One You Love because I've always been interested in that one. I've started it, but I haven't gotten very far, and it's a good book apparently, so I will be doing that one. Seventh thing is read a book by one of 3 authors who write and are known for horror, and I chose Clive Barker, and I will be reading The Hellbound Heart. If you don't know, Clive Barker was the creator of Hellraiser, so I will be reading The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. Number 8 is read a national award-winning novel, and I will be reading Waiting by Ha Jin. I will be doing another challenge alongside this one, and they're going to overlap. It's called Diversity on the Shelf, and you have to read, I'm doing the beginners level because I have 22 other books to read, but I'm going to be overlapping them. And it's read either a book written by a person of color, or the main character is a person of color, like The Life of Pi, or I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. So, Waiting is by Ha Jin, who's Chinese, I think. And so I will be reading that for this challenge, and I will also be putting that on my Diversity on the Shelf challenge. So I will be overlapping that one. The ninth thing on this list is to read a book by James Joyce. I will be reading The Dead because it is a short story, and I can also put that in one of my other items for this list. Read a book by Haruki Murakami. If you don't know, he wrote 1Q84, which is a widely known book. I did not choose that book because I was not interested in it when I first started it. So I will be reading Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. Read a novel in a day, that is number 11, and I will be doing The Dead, number 9, because it is a short story. Number 12, read a novel by Marcus Aurelius, or Aristotle, or Plato, I think it was. So I will be reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Number 13, read a book by an author you loathe. I like a lot of books, so I don't have many authors that I loathe, but one that sticks out in my mind is Stephenie Meyer. So I will be reading The Host by Stephenie Meyer, because I already read Twilight. Number 14, read a humorous book. I will be reading Good Omens by Terry Pratchett, because it sounds like a funny book about, God and the devil and being a human and the end of the world, and it's all spiced up with humor, so I'm excited to read that. Read a book by David Foster Wallace. I will be reading Infinite Jest because it just seems interesting. Read a book by Leo Tolstoy. I will be reading Anna Karenina. Read a book by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I will be reading Tender is the Night. Read a book by Stephen King. I will be reading Mr. Mercedes. Read a book on an e-reader. I will be reading Ask Me Twice. Read a banned book. I almost chose The Book Thief because I love that book, but I decided not to do that book because what's the point of the challenge if you do something that you love already? So I am going to be reading American Psycho. Read a translated book. I will be reading Inkheart. I read this back when I was a teenager in high school, but I want to read it again and then read the rest of the trilogy if I can. Read a Kindle single or a book made by an Amazon author. I will be doing Ask Me Twice. I will be reading it on an e-reader, so that counts for 2 things. Read a memoir. I will be reading I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, and that will be on my Diversity on the Shelf challenge as well. And last but not least, read a book by Vonnegut. I will be reading The Cat's Cradle. I think that's it. That's about it, you guys. Those are the books I will be reading for the Kindred challenge. I'm going to post these books all on my Facebook as well, at Beer Bomb Bookworm. You can look it up and like it. I will give you a link to that page in the description below. I will also give you a link to the list of books I will be doing in the description below, and to the challenge I'm doing in the description below. This is Beer Bomb Bookworm, and I will see you guys later. Happy reading!